Hello, everybody online. We'll get started here in just a minute. Something is so weird. Okay. Delay. What is going on? Whatever. Okay. Recording is on. I think we're ready. That's what what did we say we are at Nipa.
Zago.
Zago.
Nipa Nyambo Lensamola Sum.
Okay, yeah. All right. In the Tibetan or the English? English 33. D2. So online too, guys, we're in the English book, we're on page 33. D2, the actual practices for taking advantage of the precious human life of leisure. Do we all have a life of leisure? I don't feel like I have a life of leisure, but I guess I do.
Ane tandanga sutte laure manduk ngelane. Tiwachio.
So before we get started, if you have any questions, please.
Before
we get started, I have a question for you.
Ani ti tandanga tsiti chozo monchisha pache kunyore. Karrezen kunyo yore tsiti. Na tanda tiwati. Sonji ki dani daki ngoyenki dani daki drayon yes. Sonji ki sonjora. Dani daki ngoyen yo ngochap.
Dani
daki ngoyen. Ngoyen zena.
Go.
Mangan rungo na ngon.
Gun.
Dani daki ngoyen ye. Dani daki drayen. Sonji ki susu sochacha susu re. Ani susu draw ane susu rezene. Dani daki ngoyen, dani daki drayen. Tsiti kumanyo. Sonji ki te pe mombo yore.
Dani
daki.
Kata.
Dani.
Kung uchinyo pa.
Ah.
Uchinyo tigido. Dani daki.
Goncho. Yen. Ne. Dani daki ti chupa.
Dani daki.
Dra.
Dagi yin. Okay. Tanda hakosong.
Dra yen.
Hakosong.
It's the premo. Sonji ka son.
Dani daki. Kungi yin. Dani daki dagi yin. So there's this very famous saying from the Buddha which says, I am my own protector and I am my own worst enemy. That's essentially how I would say it. It doesn't say worst, but I would say worst. So I am my own protector and I am my own enemy. So what do you understand from that? Do you understand that saying?
I agree. I didn't know what it means before, but now I agree.
공룡의 연애는 튼담 뜸바래 선성.
디 손지가 손데 배 쇼로카 틴다보 배 몸보시 손요. 지바 지죠. 틴다보.
So there's lots of sort of short sayings like this.
티츠들 니바 침보. 요레스.
니바. Yes. These are very powerful. These are very powerful sort of sayings. Very helpful sayings.
Pena naso dani daki ngoy yezene tsitil salu momboji tona ane susulu yo kibeshibu yores ane dani daki drayon yezede yo tsitil salu tona ta susu yapu zoa to ane susu ngocha kiwa chima kilembi onto tona ya chima la yapu zo ane kiwa chima dendro kia tendi somate susu chibula rali de yores ra susu kyatanga susu mato 제 산지에 또 솔레니 파 겨는 좋아요 말해서 그거 갈라라 녀네 아니 수수가 녀래진 수수수 겨고래서
So when we think about this, we can understand this by thinking about, right, whatever results we get, right, are based on our actions, right? So the Buddha can't sort of reach down and pull us up. So if we practice the path and we perform virtue, we'll have good rebirths, we'll have all the fruits of those good practices. And if we do the opposite, of course, we experience the opposite effects, right? But it's all up to us what we experience.
아니 다니 다게 자요 예잖아 아니 미진바지 요니 초 니게 자레잖아 알다만다 제네 두부 돈테네 나 녀와라 동자지요 말했어 녀와 네솔라 티카레 수수수 삼바티 센테 마터위옹게 삼방에 봐도 켈로 야부 매 아니 게윌리 몽보 제마도 마게윌리 몽보 제네 수수 아니 수수 네소 첸주 그랬어
And so all of whatever good we do and the virtue we accumulate creates good effects, which sends us to good rebirths, and the opposite of that, of course, is going to bad rebirths. So for example, just because somebody does something bad to you or harms you, that can't send you to the hell realms. That can't send you to a bad migration. It's really one's own motivation. So if you have a bad motivation, if you do lots of bad things, right, it's your own mind, your own actions that send you to a hell realm. So in that way, we can understand, that we're our own worst enemy.
네 디츠코 다텔라 다니엘레 버타와는 그비 도리 타파자zen. 인타 수수티 야부 수수 삼바 겨주 야부즈 돈토나. 네 그빈 도리자네 기야치마 야부 기야테서 소마 수수 살레버 타네. 수수가 산데 야부 주토라 레버 돌라나 산데 주주 야부 줬토나 아니 기아치마도라는 도리 타베레 신달레나 뇨타 뇨아토 소마테 수수가 산 야부 줘 고아트 게침보레zen
So if you are able in this life to practice and to really transform your mind, to really work on improving your mind, then you will definitely have lots of benefits in future lives, and even in this life you'll also have fewer and fewer problems. So it's really important that you think about trying to transform your mind, trying to improve your mind.
네 때던 라보 단다 견지와 제스침 자라기 견지나라 네 선체마세 남까지 때다전지 요물 다텐디 쓰지요래 까르 선체마세 바잖아 다 선체파 좀 ngaso파 따나 먹따나 통마디아도 수술 컨트롤lon게 따보 선체 데장다본 통하다파 건데요레스 가사칼은 통하요레스 아니 코조 판 통할 때라 때네 지 고야보모도 고교바야보모 공알 칭엘라본도 텐디모보 사울톤 데나 아니 수수jel라 컨트롤게 도차게 지도 소마케오레스 아니 티 파저 선체트 다텐데 제어데 다 파셔 선셋에서 매바주고도 마토 내가 롬노바티근도 제나 다티 촌은 파셔 선셋에서 매바주도 말레스 틴데 있어서 아니 선셋 추에산도 지잖아 다디 탄제 쳐던다zen 시티카라라 수수고 컨트롤자에 사도 수수고 사마타와티 야부즈 터타우선나 아니 파셔가 다 소마타도 주바레스
There's another famous quote from The Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva, and I can't translate the quote exactly, but I think it's the famous quote about cut with the leather, but I'm not sure, but it's the same meaning. The idea being that if you look at the world, right, the number of sentient beings that could annoy you or cause you problems or you might not like, right, are kind of endless, right? If you look at the world that way, there's an incredible number of sentient beings that you could find a reason to cause you suffering or pain or get you frustrated or angry, and you'll never be able to sort of get rid of all of the beings and things that could actually annoy you or create problems for you, and so that'll never work. So what you have to do really is, if you can protect your own mind, if you can fix your own mind in such a way that those kinds of emotions don't arise, then it's the same as if you have transformed all of those beings.
아니 때라 다로 견제는 제스 좀 잡아라. 삐빼야부 녀지부 고디부치셔. 디카라잖아. 아니 사텐다는 고요서 tenye 고이 갈레로서 다 텐데 츠지요라
직접 드신 게
츠-
또 캡트
츠제데 갈라라 당아 리그 콘런도고 데스 리콘런도나 리콘 소마 설마레도스 아니 니 콤발을 참아서 그래 텐데에서서 니 소마라 아니 고아가 요고도잖아 도아요 마레스 아니 텔레 수수고 콤바텔라 고알 하시케나 리콘 소마 고아가 요아도 치바레즈네 니 텐데 피토지 저요레스.
And so there's a really beautiful example here that is sort of the continuation of this thought from the Shantideva's Bodhisattva's way of life is this idea that, say you're trying to climb a mountain, but the mountain is covered with these thorns. Well, you can never get enough leather to cover the entire mountain with thorns, right? But what you can do is just cover the soles of your feet with thorns, and it's as if you've covered the mountain with thorns.
텐데 있어서 당가서 강가 가르스테나다 뇨타 가르레나다 파쇼티 그맛소가 담한다 남자 간르스테나다 수수 그 산티 다보야보지자 니바 초마 수수요레 수수 그 만드비 원키 파쇼도서 그텐데 제레즈네 수수를 사울로 텐데진 코르토나 아니 수수라 강가 뇨아 마진발로 강가 테모고아 어텐데 쳐봐요 수수라 강가 뇨아 다 pena
So regardless of whether you're a Buddhist or not, whoever you are, if you can have this kind of mind that whenever something arises, whenever somebody bothers you or does something arises that bothers you, if you can see it as something you can change your mind about rather than trying to change that person, you'll have much less problems and you'll create much less problems for other people.
수술은 요래 난초 요래 젬발라니 젬바크 난자텐데 탈라 카요 마레zen 텐데 사울지 토나 아니 마 젬발로 노케마고 수술로 키수 용그레스
수술로 키수
케존zen 수술로 키베
yeah, so if you can have this attitude that whatever happens, you just take the fault on yourself and you say, okay, this is my problem to deal with, my fault, and you don't place the blame on other people. If you can have this kind of attitude, then both people will benefit. You'll benefit the other person, and you'll also benefit yourself.
Nitela pena kandidazen na lu kashi konla dele le gombak lekatone nga dele lekaton re lekaton de lekato azu pene sonjo mombodo mi mombolera kozo roba chengeton re paki kozo basana ne mala kozo pesha nduzu ton cha drenko la
kinungi mission na de roba cheken
nga zo gomba yora ki konse ki nga to ngi roba ni deli la ne pene yong sonjo mombo yora
okay
kozo roba chenge ton re ta kozo ni bale ne yale ngani kozo basano ya basano chasu drenkono pa ja
sadijo kengi
nile konda bo roba che ne kozo pesha so pa to kozo pesha pa si ja ne tindiche roba chenge ton re ina ta roba che ti pa nima khashil pe kalega tonchen du kareze kozo kar siena ran che gomandu ne ndo gomandu sansal chu kumare la gomandu sansal nga leka yabul choso ngoshi du
kumso kenso de nokte shibare
nyota sher tapa mi jani jalera tangani mi jani jatela roba che gore kozo delene basana legra majidrola ne kozo sale ne drenkono ya suzu deju ne kozo pesha to sija ne kozo la basana jan darasa jar bachian jekaton tatibaranga lekalera tongoni ma khashilo pe kalendo tangata lekata leto samare sasa karrezana kozo ko pa nyota she choleka che yabu che mon moshi tongo khashile yabu che kashi yabu che khashilo pesha 성모도 따뜻한 녀타페 몸보세 내가 통지 체네
So several years ago, myself and a friend were sent from Drabung from the monastery to Delhi to work, and the work was back then there used to be a lot of Tibetans arriving from Tibet, hundreds of Tibetans, thousands of Tibetans arriving from Tibet, and they would come to these reception centers, these sort of reception places in Delhi. And so the job was basically when there were a couple hundred of these new arrivals from Tibet that were just arriving in India, and what we would have to do is sort of get them, welcome them. We would be responsible for handing out the money, getting them food, getting them passes for everything, and really sort of helping them arrive. But a lot of them would complain all the time. Oh, you didn't give me all the money. You didn't give me the right money. They just found lots of reasons to really complain about what was happening.
Zankachi pe kalites ta kariche dentachi mazeza pe kalites ta kariche goena kariche kola yabuche na kariche na dugumo koso mandu ya choncho lagundo tongde chese ne salu chitone ni robang ta kariche korso kar tena ten ra ngani ngar legiat koso ya yabuche atre ya yabuche go atre ne pesa chi go atre 마롱원이 제거하듯 때래 다 거절 능난도 만드는 만드 리린 타시문도 가르션 수승원에 라산난다 딱 gemba lekan ayeso ta koso lekat masabata susugonne legeye ta koso karchena shesane ne montene lekales ne chone kangamondo koso karchena nyota kar susugonne ta koso lupa lekale goatele ne koso karchena nometone matindi chesatene kali chone mondo chabondo chasos.
So for several weeks this went on, whatever I did, whatever we tried to do, they would just complain, about the money or the food or whatever we tried to help them with, somebody was complaining about it wasn't right, it was really starting to annoy me. And then, my friend said, look, they're going to complain regardless, right? The important thing is that we do our job well, and that that what's important for us is our own motivation, our own work, and doing the job right, and really not paying attention to what these people do, right? If they're going to complain or not complain, because whatever we do, some of them are going to complain. So if we just worry about ourselves and we do what we're supposed to do and we have a good motivation, then it won't matter. And so after doing that, then I was able to really do this work really without any kind of problems arising for me.
Tinde ta kangan daste phasone chingduman ri chate phasoti ja tonga salu tongale susu ko salu ja chi tona ne kangar to ronje ki chorin do tindindo.
So this is just an example of how rather than trying to change someone else's way of thinking or way of acting, really by changing my own way of thinking, my own way of thinking, really these problems went away. Okay, so now we will start start in the text, the actual teaching.
Niba nibo le changola so jiwo chongo to tomo la jaramba lo jon de to tomo jiwo chimbo do lanji ramba lo jon awsane sache sondo
Konanga ni lokle this.
raso
Karicheso.
atar nibo le changola
No, na dia bo ngai lokle ki kangi this take it karichene.
누구 대 여보면서 롤레 좀만 들으면도
그래서 okay, 단다 되게 괜찮아. Let me just close some. Sorry guys, I'm just having a little computer weirdness. Okay, well that's fine. Okay, so now we are on D2, page 33. The actual practices for taking advantage of this precious human life, which has 3 parts.
다네 제워 총어도 토모 라지람바 로조 연조 제워 총어도 토모 라지라발라 연조 송 제워 총의 삼바 조앙무 삼바데 제비체 텔라 로버토바 사와오스.
And so these 3 parts, we are going to start with the first part, which is training the mind in the stages of the path shared with the person of small scope, or you could say the persons of sort of small mental capacity. And that has 3 parts. Within those 3 parts, training the mind in the stages of the path shared with the persons of the small scope. The 3 parts there being the actual training of the mind of a person. What is going on? Sorry. Of a person of small scope. Sorry, I'm having trouble scrolling my computer for some reason. So the E1 here, training the mind in the stages of the path shared with the persons of small scope. which has 3 parts, the actual training of the mind of a person with a small scope, the measure of the practice of the mind of a person of small scope, and eliminating misconceptions about the path.
ane yonjo jeba chong I samba jwa ngolani jite chami tonya che lu cheba ton jite chama dewi tatem ba was ane sache tinye. Tombu chong I samba jwa jite chama tonya che lu cheba jite chami dewi tatem ba was.
Okay, so yeah, and so then we're continuing down this outline. The actual training of the mind of a person of small scope, which has 2 parts, generating the mind that aspires for better future lives and the method of generating happiness in future lives.
Aneta jite chami tonya che lu cheba zan jite chami tonya che lu cheba zat kar zan ngaso jite chami zat ngaso chewa chama ne chewa chama te sa chembo se chewa chama la kar che gore zane 당아서 지야 참말로 가서 펜토피 ene leka kar le ayores ta tinri saulu toate cheche ane jita chama dewa thabita ane kiya chamala ane ngaso dewa tha to dinru kiya o tisola ane thaushi kar yores ane ta sache tingi legres sache tingi thangso chik tingi jita chama tonya chulu chepas kiya chamala ane tonya kiya chama sa chimbosene kiya chamala ane royal kari saulu kari tongkora zato ane kiya chimala ane diwara icheda ane country reason toani legores.
Yeah, so then the next section here we have these 2 parts, generating the mind that aspires for better future life. So it's like how do we generate this mind that wants, that works for having a good rebirth, and then how do we actually obtain happiness in these future lives?
네 다윤 지테 chime tonya julu chebala yunjo sache ni jite renda mani bin chwa jis temba sambato jite chima chatan jawandu ani chi didi sambavos.
So then continuing down this outline here, generating the mind that aspires for better future life, contemplating the inevitability of the present life, contemplating the inevitability of the end of the present life shortly, basically means contemplating that we're going to die very soon, and contemplating the nature of happiness and suffering in the 2 realms of future lives.
Niti sache de goa karrezana jiten de renda mani ban chaje tembasam ngasu ta tsinde ni chirembo chag mare chirembo jiyo mare ra now chingi me tsinde ani katisha ham ko yesoza ani ta nauji singan job shagre zane ani shawa mombo shawa to mombo chi trainer ani yu chuchar cheba yores this.
Of course, what it means is this idea of really contemplating, realizing that we don't know when we are going to die, and we really think about that. We could die very soon, and we are definitely going to die, and we could die very soon. And so, by contemplating this is something that turns us toward thinking about the Dharma.
jite chama chatan yo andrenya ane tanga shane jite chama rosona ane nga kiwa karil legre nga thar kigre mal kigre yona tandul kigre zan kiwa chama tanyawa ye tataso ko dingal savne yo saulu tonat chires.
And so when we think about this, we think, okay, and when I do die, what kind of birth am I going to get? Am I going to be born as a god? Am I going to be born as a person? Or am I going to be born, as a hell being or a hungry ghost or an animal? And thinking really about sort of what kind of birth we're going to take, and really, so what are the causes for these different rebirths?
ane tara sache jiten ta tsindala nga so yerembo neu mares za sache jindo tele yo sache yo manda ji chawa temba ma gabe ni ma gabe pe chawa tembe lu chata chawa tembe ga so lo zan yonjo sache ji shegndo
Sache shi di
ndo jiten da renta mani bin chawa ji temba sambala ji
Chiwa tembe ki gomba ma gomba. Okay, yeah. So then just continuing down here, that contemplating the inevitability of the end of the present life shortly. The shortly is a little weird. It basically means that we're going to die soon. I think the English is a little awkward there, but it has 4 parts. Like, how do we contemplate the inevitability of dying soon? Right, 4 parts. The defect of not contemplating the inevitability of death, the benefit of contemplating the inevitability of death, and then the
아,
네, 전 시프트
사제 된 로난디라 고스콘. 다 근데 사제 가르자티 사제 때 로그zambe. 치아마 감비 니무.
네, 당보당 니벌로 로인.
는 치아 템베 루치다. 다 때네 치아 마템 마가비 니무자. 티 사제 때 ndasheja.
So now we're going to start the explanation of the first one of these four, which is the defect of not contemplating the inevitability of death, or you could say, why do we need to contemplate the inevitability of death?
아니 차 마테바 마가바잔 카르레잔 기토 가서 샤와요바 하고 그래서 나지스 가서 샤와요바 뭐 소마 킬레 그래서 얘나요 나 조부시가 말해서 루지마시가 말해 네 티리시가 말해 네 소니시가 말해 다 네카르당 아즈부 디토용아시가 말 루카시 데 그래서 내가 가서 루주 뉴스 순수 대학 지시자네 티시자오테 네 친다 좀바 살로마토 네 kia pena ngaso
No, 그런 게 탄가.
친다 좀바마토 kia chama salun khar mares pena ngaso ta lujima shega mare ane anda luchu nyishi zala ta ngaso shega mares tindi sa tiri shega mare sonyi shega mare tindi mombo sa dera tindi yede tindi salu dun khawde ngaso kia chama la pento belikat chate salu nyonyo chagres 친다 좀바 대 친다 je 네 로초 벤조 센년다 수수로 고아텐데 좀바 라살로 토마토 아니 당아셔서나 기아치말 캐악 다디지 고레자네 디살로티 카토고요 마레스 팅카마토 아야나 알레자
So generally speaking, we all know we're going to die, right? We all sort of understand that death happens and that we're all going to die, but none of us think we're going to die soon. Right? We don't think really believe we're going to die today or tomorrow or even in 10 or 20 years. The death that we always think, oh, we're going to die way, way in the future. And the problem with this, thinking this way is that we really don't ever think much about our future lives, right? We don't really do much work to improve our future lives or value our future lives because we sort of feel like this life is going to last sort of indefinitely. And we really concentrate only on the things that are valuable in this life.
ane tandangas jobu shere salu to moto ache ti ongi ane ndosha konjonga nyomo choma ti ongi je de yores kersi nga sonin chegareta tirichita nga palan chegare tena bena chukelenka chena chumato salu khayo mares shiti kya chama pha chumato yomar 네 틴데살로 땅아 치자 니발에 셔그래서 내가 치자 니바 마자베도 봐 추좀바도 기아 참알 간디고도 살로 계승아 캔서를 찾은 다 교선이 샤르잖아 베나가 캔서 나반다 차
계산나
아니 저러선이 샤르 안젤라 클라소나 마살로지만 커마라 추킬라 다 뭔데 손이 마셔버들 ngotangone 시전에 추제 지가 틴디마토 살룬 코고 말해서 틴데에서 내가 소 샤와팅이 버터 쟁고라마도 샤 마테나 네
Yeah, and so the problem with this kind of attitude really is that because we're only thinking about this life, our afflictions really take root, really arise, right? And so if we really understood, if we really thought, oh, I could die tomorrow, I could die the next day, I could die really soon, then if you are somebody that sort of believes in the Dharma, it really encourages you to do practice and to think about future lives and to think about the Dharma and to try to sort of improve what's going to happen in your future lives, right? So like, for example, if you got sick and the doctor told you, if I got sick and the doctor told me, oh, you're going to die tomorrow or you're going to die really soon, and because I practice, I believe in the Dharma, right? I would think, oh, now I really have to go and really practice and say some prayers because I'm going to die very soon. So it's really important. I would really be motivated to sort of say prayers and practice. If I really understood I was going to die soon.
딘데서서 베나 나론다지나 단다 루카실레 시가마른 조부 시가마르 자네 사울도 시침보 요레스 딘데서서 추나마 추야부지 더도요 마레스 단다
그래 추 그래
pena ngando jena tanda nga lukashi le shigamare
어디 하고
yobu shigamare te sauli jora tinde isoza 상치 lechugi 상치 lechizana 상때네 chuchia jora 상때네 chuchia 기아 참아 좀발 사울도 내가 chuchia ngando jena chetu yo mares tanda 친들 대아도 즉지시 내가 자주 몸부지자 tinde jena 하되 요res.
So for me, for example, because I don't really believe that I'm going to die soon, right? I think I'm really going to live because I really feel like I'm going to live many years. The truth is that I don't really practice Dharma as deeply as I could, like this really deep sort of kind of serious practice that would happen if I really believed I was going to die soon, right? So that's just for me as an example that arises.
tanda tende sore yena yo ngaso yo kia chamala chomba saulu ton tsindal saulu ton yo mare zera yo kashike tel koa loba kene ne tsindala ne lekale yo mare japanjo da yo mare lajo cha yo mare tinde kone tsindak leka cha yo mare ne kantin de ndu mare zene yo saulu ton ka chi yoras tinde so tanda shaate ngaso jende saulu te ne karra zene tsindato chamanyine kiwa chamato suzone saulu tontea ne tsindaka leka choma leko resara suzu penjo danka yana penjo suzu leka kare yana choma montone lenin drogo res lenin drona yo su samba zombu che ra ne suzu tiseji parna kuka yabunda rana ne tipore shikjane chula lanya che tindi che arama ma choma chawata zene rikolando leka chone malezad yoma yoma res mi choma chawata zara Chatawa. Chatawa zan mi soma rik kolndo leka chone jitamela atindi lao de yo mares yo mares.
So when we talk here about sort of like really being worried about your future lives and valuing your future lives and you're going to die soon, some people would make the mistake of thinking, okay, well then if that's true, then I'm not going to pay attention to this life at all. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to take care of myself. I'm just going to let all that go and try to practice Dharma. But the truth is, right, we have to work in this life. We have to take care of ourselves. There's lots of things we have to do in this life, that you just have to do, right? So that we're not saying that you don't have to do those things, but the important thing is that you do them with a good heart. You have a good opportunity. You have a good motivation in everything that you do. And then, of course, if you have the opportunity to study and practice and do these things, that's wonderful. Then you should take them. But it's important to realize that not everybody has the conditions and the ability and the opportunity to go, live in the mountains and be a yogi like Milarepa, right? Like that's a very rare sort of set of conditions to have that.
Tindis tatsu ngaso china jopaya lontene saulu zombuchi ton saulu yabuchi majemba la pema tona ne chigme zene kelechi che ane titsela ne suzuk lekaya bukase le tuna le ane jolo suzuk lajo chenga yenanda lekale soma Lharampa chen montene le nendo su saulu
Samade di tangbola di kariti mission na pingire
tombo yangaso jopaya lonte majemba la pema tona no ba chenkechi mache zane keleti jopane tinde kenlo zombuchi yona ne nyimachi ta ne malo ne kiato saulu nga bacha tisi nyori chakra jopane ra atende saulu chito ne suzuka leka kare yona te le macha na gage yana gage lao jo chenga te chene su kenlo zombuchi ka tinde chena ne kale kala ronji ka sauto yare ndo ne pento chenpo yores mato tanda nga tsun chewa tre gore ta sonyin chegara nonyin chegara zen leka chone ma le lao jo chone ma chen ndiyo ma res
So, for example, in the morning, right, if you arise with a good motivation, right, if you arise and you think, okay, today I'm going to do my best to help people, and if I can't help sentient beings, at least, don't hurt them, right? That kind of motivation in the morning is really good, just to have that kind of good, positive motivation. And then after that, you do what kind of work it is that you have to do. Whatever kind of work you do, what kind of studying you do it with a good motivation. And so if you do sort of go through your life doing whatever it is that you have to do with this kind of mind, your mind will slowly improve, and you'll definitely feel benefits from this. Like this will definitely be beneficial to your mind. But it's not, you don't want to just wake up and just avoid your work or avoid your studying thinking, oh, well, I'm going to die soon, right? That's not what we're saying here.
ane ta sacha nipa gambi pheyo zanane konlo cha mate magapi nimure ta cha gana kar pheto yore zane ayunjo cha sha teres.
So now the part 2, the benefit of contemplating the inevitability of death. So previously we talked about the defects or faults of not contemplating. And here we're talking about the benefits of contemplating the inevitability of death.
ane kya chinda chato ga kar re zane ta chinda ngaso madda ten kigres tharembura cha te kere ta tirin chato sonin cha nonin cha haku mares tindi yeso to tindi saulo te mombuchin khosona ane jiten de la charging de nuando res jiten
Okay.
charging nuando ane suzuka leka diga lea to ane jelo nokia o teso nyorin res nyorin du chikares teso leka mombuchin le dena susulu pema topa susulu nokia ba pana to melo nokia ba to leka dicha lea o tindi lea te nyonyo chagres ngan jobu shere naji shere zen tindi tena tima tena ne jelo no ki ne leka dicha le te so morin tu res nyomo morin tu te kya cha ma ta da gana leka dicha le te nyorin tu res nyorin tu bi jinsa kar res na ta kya chama khelen ka ji sat tiri mala dramon bo sa mala no mo bo che penjo dramon bo sa zena mela drasa mela no ba je kontra dra che jara
Kiwa ngachi killing kin.
kya ngachi khelen ka chi yenas pana mi jimbal dra che ga mares dra sa ga mares na dra che ga mares ra kar chen dra che na gupa ma kol dra che na ne kol no pa che le ka de cha le na ne kya shama ngalo ne ga res
Okay.
o tatindi chaba yores sana
So the benefits of contemplating the inevitability of death, right? So if you really think, oh, I'm going to die soon, or I might die soon, right? That life is not like that. Our life is not stable, right? That you can't count on it. That you could sort of die at any moment. Really contemplating this, then naturally you're grasping and you're craving, right? The sort of the grasping and the craving will decrease, and then by this decreasing, also sort of all of the negative actions that you do will sort of naturally decrease, and then your afflictions will naturally decrease. And so that's really helpful, right? So if you're a person that really believes in past and future lives, then you really won't sort of imagine that you have lots of enemies around, right? And then respond the way that we were talking about, like to these people as enemies. You'll really sort of guard your own mind, because you'll realize that if you look at the world as if there are these lots of enemies, that it's you that will go down to a bad rebirth. So by thinking about past, like sort of the inevitability of death, you'll naturally have this fruit of these sort of decreasing negative actions, decreasing grasping, decreasing negative emotions.
ane jiwa yo ti parila
So if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask questions right now. Anybody online? No? Okay.
jiwa
I think for most of lay people, even Buddhists, still it's difficult to think about death, because I have some friends, they are Buddhist practitioners for many years, but still they enjoy, the secular life a lot. Even study Buddhism for many years, and it's quite difficult. Like even we talk about Dharma, the life is impermanent, and we discuss about death is uncertain, but still most of people still seek for temporary.
Sure. What is there a question?
My question is how to tell them, you know. It's not really a question, it's just my feeling.
Okay, 공개 그 티오랑 말이지. 공개 삼 절카리디 삼오단 그래서 근데 나초 미야 망치어디 딘제 눈이 딘제디 딩사모 하크야 카포드 나초디 낭츠디 롭중체 뇽킨 메킨 카리나디 가초 디 치와 기골라시 디 눈이 디 삼오 당나 거면 베카포드 나초디 Lomambo di nangchu lobchung chenong ye. Inayang temase ngacho tatung di sim di ngacho mitse negap ki mitse ki tewa mambo di kare di bejutangi yore di keki yore. Tenje di ngune chene di chiwa ki kola ding sapmo di top hakuya bek hapoto.
Tate kero chiba mara mambo ngaro re ngacho somal.
This is a problem for everybody, not just you or lay people, myself as well.
Ina chumo ngaso mombo chawa tegoreze mombo shege yorete ina ngandrabche ina tanda luchu changa le shegmare tene luchu changa le dak tishiti luchu changa nishila shegmare sasa jingal tanze tende tabanze be tanze ji yores tende soza tate mombo le yores Yenayo, Tandani as a chewat, this John till John Darton, Sauna, Pena Naro Nyon Santa Shezana, Nama this Shichimbonare. Shichimbonate. Ta Membal Tenan, not Santa Shea you may. Membala Tenama pe. Ta Saluton de Takarsinga Yobu Shazona Karjegre. Nga karchego takwasa nga dawashigi shi dawani ki jila shana nga karchegre sane nga shikchimonda de nga rolo saulo tin khorsus tete nga saulo jasa ton de kanti ton de na ta cho zayat ma to mendus susu cho zayat ma to ngone mendus ta cho de chen san de ne ba cho la gabon res sa den cho to ma to ta susu kya la pen to ze mundu sa sa on sono tin de leg
yeah, so this is a problem for everybody. It's not just a problem for you. For example, like I've been studying Buddhism for many, many years, for 10, 15, 20 years, right? I've been studying Buddhism, and I still have lots of self-grasping, lots of this sort of self-grasping mind. And so, this is really difficult, but you could sometimes I think, or you can think, like, oh, if I was going to die, say I got sick and the doctor told me I was going to die in a week or two, right? Like, what would be important to me? And when I contemplate this, when I think about this, really, right, the only thing that would matter at that time would be the Dharma for me, right? The only thing that would matter would be my practice and my Dharma. If I knew I was going to die, that's all I would care about, right? So, thinking about that way maybe is beneficial.
So talk about
I think he was going to say more. I think he was going to keep going.
Ane tanda ngaso karazana chuto mato saulo mato zane tangaso utu ngaso chuto kepo demo tendeyeti
chuto kibo
amara ngaso choza chora chuto masoma keboye deboye kangameti tenke nyonyores ne meti kangaji uji tu memba ko chi taushi mondo ze ane chi tendi chate ane chuke lenke de so jene chode santene ranger que sal chuma to mondo sa sal jin kho yora ma to tanda nga so chuma demo chibu tendi yete chul lojo chege zene chin ro dera ma to santene chuma to mondo sa tende tis kabo yores.
So, for example, there's not a lot of people, like if someone is really happy and their life is really good, there's very few people like that who have an interest in Dharma, right? If you're very happy and your life is very good, you often are not worried about Dharma, right? Often what happens is that you get sick or you have difficulty, and through that, this real interest, this sincere interest in Dharma arises. But for us right now, if our lives are very good, it is very difficult to take this seriously into practice.
Pena tangaso chu kelenke ya chama kelenke chena ngaso kezo karyorezana pena tanda mombuchila 다 doctor 그 미나차처럼 cancer 차선도 라라 딘딜라서 몸보여라 차데 동복고 제 상처제
그렇다.
doctor 그 페나 나바치라 저런 cancer 차선도 라라 티 케차도 고아도 고 나바도 시버제 이제 근도전 로코 총쇼자 상처제 상바마자 차네 딘디 차한도도 딘디 차한도 때네 다 코살로던 헬레전 버리시 당가 샤는 땡키서 당가 제나 배고 말에 상저전나 배고 말에 아니 배샤요사 텐데야나 야만 촘버제 야피
야만 촘버
배샤요사 제나 촘벌제나 예컨쇼란 초반바도
오케이
아니 냥타도 솔로마 젬바토 아니 수수고 초제 살로야포 돈 헬레제네 동보 chokensa chazare ngota shibachera ane tiz danyama nga tete ane lele anga sha tenkizores ta shite ngal chuma to phe yomarezan su pesanda yona yamato ne suzungoni chunda sawlo to chuyabu shenan chugu koton la sawlo to chugu koas chuyabu mashinga jen manindande tende jen shawala
so for examples when you can think about like if you went to the doctor, this happens all the time, right? You go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, you have cancer, you're definitely going to die, right? So at first you're going to be very sad, you're going to be very discouraged, you're going to be very scared. It's going to have a lot of emotions. But then if you believe in the Dharma, after a while you sort of relax, some of that will go away and you'll think, okay, now what do I have to do, right? Okay, so now I know what to do. I need to really, practice. I need to give away all of my possessions to poor people, right? I need to really sort of to do these things to prepare for death. And so that's a benefit of the Dharma, really, is it, yes, of course, when you first find out you're going to die, it's very scary. You're going to get very nervous, but then after that settles down, you sort of know what you're going to do after that to sort of benefit yourself for the next life.
In Lamrim Temple, when we talked about death, Master Tsewang said when we think about life is uncertain, right? First is life is for sure. Second, life is uncertain. No, death. Sorry.
Death is certain.
First is death is for sure. Second is death is uncertain.
The cause of death or the time of death is uncertain.
Yes, and then third is when we are facing death, only Dharma
will help us. Yes.
So then Geshe mentioned so if doctor announced you are going to die very soon because of cancer, then that might motivate us to practice Dharma, right?
Yeah, that's his point. That was what he was trying to say.
Yes,
maybe I didn't translate that well enough.
An opposite example.
Okay.
Like I have a Dharma friend who studied Dharma for 20 years, over 20 years, and recently, doctor announced she's dying because of cancer. And then she admits us that she felt Dharma is not helping her. And I was very surprised to hear that. And also, I was thinking about that.
Okay.
Why did she feel that way?
Okay.
After studying Dharma for 20 years. Yeah. But luckily, she had many Dharma friends surrounding her.
Okay.
I feel she's getting better.
Okay.
Now. Yeah. I mean, mentally. Yes.
Okay. 공기좀 그래서나 딩아서디 람은 쯤어디 롭중 제도 딩 낭신 딘저여디 캐쳐 숨디 디 치와 그래지 치와 치경님에 디 치와 나서디 딘딘
단다 사치잖아
당나디 나서디 지 시베갑라 디 총베갑라 디 추마도 빙기 말에 캐쳐 숨 딘저 삼어당기여레 얘니 기능기 숨반 낭신 딘저 di semlo tangna au nga shigi in di nangshin di gapla hakona di nang chug ngene di nyamlan chegu di kare di dindre gi sim chung yure ine kong be di kongi chomo di kongi chomo te di jikche na di lobchung pu nangchu lobchung chene jikche na di lo nishu chinsong di kongi chomo te la di ngene jungsong Mimbegi Kong La de Kongmare de Kongi Tomotela, Kirang Shigire Song, Kirang Tongire Song, Yene Kongi Tomote, Tedu, the Nangchuki Yiche Tsama Lasong Jabuyores, the Nangchuk Ngala Pinto Jungma Song, Nga the Nangchu Yiche Cheki Mate Jung Song, the Karina.
다 가서 미 몸부지 된데 거기서 이제 논출이 이시랑게요. 동부수술라에 야 레와지 자. 다 논출가 자 그래 전에 레와지 자. 안에 수술나 캔서자 된데 제어데 다 논출가 자 토마서 페마서 전에 된데 살로 동그래. 고소 디살론 카드 카르레잖아. 논출 요 타바직 살로 동요 말레스. 아주 논출 요 타바살은 리젠데 살로 동그래. 그래. 가서 단다 친데 두부 뇨아테 기앙해마가 사바레스 나 친데 두부 토아도 강어 좋아테 소마테 리 두부 뇨아 소마 기앙하마도 안에 친데 그 치토 치 촌초가선 두바마게사 텐디몬보 사네 티가 나메테 단다가 뇨그래.
So, yeah, I mean, this often happens. People in this life, they practice Dharma and they have lots of sort of hopes and wishes for what the Dharma is going to give them. But this is not actually a good understanding of Dharma, right? So if you really understand Dharma in this kind of situation, you should think about karma, right? And that whatever is arising, right? That what kind of karma have you accrued? And whatever is arising for you is because of what you've done in your previous lives, right? So to really understand that to sort of understand and think about Dharma in the proper way, you have to sort of see these kind of things through your own actions and the sort of cause and effect, the karma cause and effects. He's going to continue.
Ko ta lindi tela salu yabuji tontil la yabuji cheyona ko salu chinjolo tjega mares. Kar jene jene tanga lena satsares le satsare til ndibu yoyo ares. Tipena ngas chibu mares. Soma shendo kensa nanka mombores na bole. Met teso soma kane li dubu sane tatanda nyon dego yore. Tanga li nyona tare nyon yabuji nyone 다 기아 참아라 텐데 두부지 만토 마셔서네 텐데 솔루션 코스나 고 린데 디 이치마가 차고 말에 대근도스.
So if you really it's important to have understood and studied karma, right? And so through understanding and studying karma, you understand that whatever happens in this life, right, is because of what I've done in the past life. So if I get cancer, right, in this life, it's because of something that I did in the past life. And also really looking around and realizing that this is the situation we're all in, right? That many people get cancer and die, right? This is a very common thing. I'm not special in that regard, right? But that really sort of understanding karma properly, then you'll be able to continue to have faith in Dharma, and you won't develop this mind that sort of is incorrect with regard to Dharma, this mistaken understanding of Dharma.
Pena ngaso pebanda jena mela du monchicha jasha monchicha tengama dubundan to nasanda na kingamba da chora king kingamba kingamba zena mara kingamba zena parchengamba pena sindale dubundan to nasanda na ane machi batende momboji chora ane pena montaga da to ane ne rikone zanda to tende kingen bazar tele king juchingamba momboji chora tende chongote kartere zene tachaya ma kya ngomi leres kya ngoma ka tanga sol du potende tonsare ta tende zene ti ngongo shishik thanki ka salut pe chimboyer pe.
So for example, with Tibetans, of course, many bad things happen, right? Of course, to Tibetans, like everyone, right? We get sick. You might be climbing on a mountain and fall off a mountain, right? Like all of these sort of negative conditions arise. But most Tibetans, most of us, very naturally, when something like this happens, you just think, okay, well, this is because of something I did in a previous life, so I just have to, I have to deal with it. It's basically my own fault, and there's nothing, to get worked up about.
Pena nane mamba anjistendura. Pena na ngandawaji na. Ane Angela Tensandro, ane Mata, ane Shizona, 나사티 마타네
Matatana.
마타네 시소나 네 카르라레 다체아요 마레스 지앙하미 레레스 멤발라나 땡요 아니 탈라는 조마체다 탈라요 마레 거르 랭가 바튼 리치 사사레다 타시요 마레젠 몽어시 테니스 산데네 트레아트 페시친 보요레스
So yeah, for Tibetans, there's this really strong mind. Like for example, right? Oh, I got sick. I go to the doctor. The doctor, I don't get well, and the doctor says, "I'm sorry, you're gonna die." And so, oh, I'm gonna die. But really, for Tibetans, there's this strong sort of understanding or belief or feeling naturally that okay, well, this is just my karma. This is just because of something I did in a previous life. So it's just sort of the way it is. It's my own fault.
아니 좋아요. this is on.
Yeah. So, any more questions? Do you want to continue, Dunya? No?
I think it's culture difference, but it's good way. Like
Yeah, he's explaining how that
Yeah.
that belief in their culture is so strong and that it's beneficial. These keepers, chigo direction, the public direction, these keepers, sugi direction, ginang, chigo direction, ginang. Keep on.
in our society, I cannot. I'm not there to say like this is your way.
Oh, yeah, Kungi.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't. That aspect's your question. I didn't ask. Kungi tiwa di chi chashe di shimba yure chingi chadi kongi chomogi ki iche ki lakbe chomotela kari sungore. kongi chomola di samchar kari lap yure kangi sana kongla le gyumje ki sungchut nang tukimare. Di kongi chomotela di rokpa ki lapcha kari lapsi kire.
다때 랍자 간지 저잖아. 땡 여부지도 하고 마서.
Yeah,
간지 저거 여부지 하고 마서.
what to say to your friend, I don't know. That's difficult.
이나 나르고 상서잖아.
But my opinion, like my idea.
다코 배출에 젬바 로사라. 젬바 로사라. 니텐데 저런 줄 젬바 로고 마레스. 라. 다 추데 그 팽문도 되사라. 다 텐데 때 네콜다 추제나요. 저 나사 만나와도 마셔 백 마레스. 베나 다자 tom바이나 거르 추제 텐데 성진 타마 첸주래. 아니 백 라마이나 라마 첨보도서 예나 봐. 아주 첨보 몸보여라. 그래서 그 마시치를 추제 텐데 첸에 첸주. 지자밀라이나 추제 텐데 첸 타마 첸주래. 첸주와도 나사 나와테 마소 소말라 요래 안티 도타메 바레 제야 요마레 리턴르체 당아서 손마지 빼달라
손마기
산지지 공부 마타 빼데 딩어 요요 아레스 이나타티 딩어 사라 딩아서 추텔 리전데토 테송고네 살레 토나마토 다시 요마레 마토 베나 초로시부 추제네 추구 초로시불라 마페바 마레스 추구 페요레스 추구 초로 페요레스 카르페요레스 choro salu ton to kia chama to ane masiko zocho mombo chola salu ton sa pengi yores yena yo chu chia za de choro la kaujano je khatu nasamana to tindi chia yo mare tindi ngaro samsar
Yeah, so just something that comes to mind for me, right? I don't really know what to tell. You should tell your friend, but what I'm thinking, right? What comes to mind for me is this idea that if you think about it, right, like all of these great beings, right? All of these great teachers, all of these great beings, Jitsen Miller, Repa, all of the lamas, like everyone gets sick and dies, right? We all get sick and die, right? This is going to happen to everyone, right? Until we become a Buddha, we're going to get sick and die, right? So this is just the way that it exists. This is our life, that we have suffering until we achieve the state of a Buddha. We're going to have some sort of suffering, right? So, given that, understanding that, really thinking about where can Buddhism help you? Well, Buddhism can help you through this understanding of karma, and sort of helping you really see things through this lens of karma, really, in your mind, and helping you change your mind. But the reality is, until even all these great beings, right, are going to get sick and die. So it's really sort of, it's just the way it is until we become a Buddha. It's why we are practicing. But the other thing you said, right, that the Dharma is not like a shot, right, that you get where you just are free from suffering, right? It just doesn't work like that.
그래서 추라체 슐르 킬랭게 틴디지야 그래서 마나 차요나 근데 나사타요나 근데 가서 nom발 나바치야요 말 초마타세
Yeah, if we were able to, if just by believing in the Dharma, we were able to not get sick, then all the Buddhists wouldn't be getting sick, right? But this just doesn't. That's not how it works.
가서 추체 추킬레다 신들 만나체도 말했어 라 신들 접용이 체도 말했어 가서 추체다 젠라 펜토와도 근데 기아 치마를 딜이야 저라마도 신들라네 저부터 펜토하체 근데 좀바야나 신들 베샤사도 석 디고시바네
Yeah, so we don't believe in Buddhism really to sort of keep us from getting sick in this life or for happiness in this life. Really, it's really for this long-term benefit of help. It's for helping other beings and also for this long-term benefit really that is really the benefit of Buddhism. I'm sorry your friend is sick.
Yeah, I'm sorry about it. Yeah. I think the other day, I think 2 days ago, she shared with me the doctor says her condition is slightly better, so she's happy about that. Yeah, I totally agree with what Geshe said. I think even we are Buddhist, but sometimes we have wrong expectation by practicing Dharma.
Of course, yeah.
Like we saw, I'm practicing well, then
of course
I can live.
Yeah, we all do that.
Healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Nganzoti nangchin nyamlin chekin lobjong chekin kadi kat kangyena di suyena ngatso chikshina di rewa di zuma di rewa ki dis noro gap ki di ngatso dindri samotangera nga di nangcho di yakbo nyamlin chena di nga di natso chege mare dindri dis ngatso simgina nga di dis di yore di changma di dindri rewa zuma lap ki yore Rewa Noah the Bangya this couple too. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not have those kind of mistaken hopes. Was it close friends?
Not a really close friend, but the first time I met her was the first time I came here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met here. Yeah, but now we become closer because I shared with her some of my